Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Zotos, presented by Caldy's Coffee and recorded right here at Bucket List Podcast Studios. This is your can't miss weekly podcast. We are always talking about the best new restaurants, the can't miss events, and of course, the people that make St. Louis such a special place to live and visit. Don't forget, you've got to stick around all the way into the end because we share a week's worth of events. So you know exactly what's happening in St. Louis and don't feel left out when you see it on your social media feed come Monday morning. Now, I'm thrilled with this week's guest because this is someone who is helping new moms, but families in general in the St. Louis area. I want to welcome Kochtanek with the New Mom School.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Allie, so what is the New Mom School?
Yeah, so New Mom School is so cool. It's actually been around for 10 years in California. So New Mom School is changing the way that we take care of our moms after they have their babies.
So important.
As we know, when you are pregnant, you see your OB like so many times and you feel really cared for and uplifted. And then you have your baby and your baby's care goes to the pediatrician. And you don't see your OB or your midwife for 6 weeks.
It's crazy.
Right. It is kind of insane. And so New Mom School really changes that and has created a landing pad for moms after they have their babies, a safe place to go to connect with other moms who have had babies the exact same time as them. So they have this tribe and community. And then they also have experts that come into class to teach them. So New Mom School is just giving them that support that they really deserve after they have their babies.
So it's existing in California, but you've brought it here to St. Louis. You guys just opened in West County. Yep. What did that feel like to open the doors?
It honestly felt like a little bit of a dream come true. So I am a postpartum doula and a sleep consultant. And so I've been working with moms for a really long time. And part of what I was doing was it was all virtual. It was I started during COVID. And so a lot of the help I was offering was over the phone or Zoom. And so when I found New Mom School and I found out that they were starting to franchise and open up all over the US, I was like, this has to come to St. Louis. And if someone else opens it,
I'm going to be so upset.
It has to be me. It has to be me. It was just like I had been looking and searching and for something like this myself. And so being able to open it in St. Louis was just a dream come true. And seeing those moms come in, oh my gosh.
And it's just because that is so needed. And you and I know each other because I used you as a sleep consultant and we did meet just over Zoom. I'm not even sure when we officially met in person, but it was well after we had been talking. And I always joke that you saved us, you saved our lives, helping us get our baby to sleep. And that support is so needed, even if it's just because I joke sometimes that I felt like everything you taught us was like almost a confirmation of what I should have already known. But like I needed that other person, that other mom, that other expert to really like help me navigate what was going on in our family.
Well, let's be real. Human beings were never supposed to mother alone. It was never supposed to be a solo sport. And so if you think about 1,000 years ago, or really from the beginning of time, when moms were having babies, they always had, I don't want to say elders in the community, but people in the community that were doing this.
You're not my elder.
I am your elder, but like people who have walked it and then could hold the new mom's hand through it because there's so much that I guess is instinctual, but not really.
Yeah.
It doesn't just come out of thin air. And so what we really want at New Mom School is for moms to come out feeling really confident and listen to that inner, voice that can show them the right direction. Because let's be real, there's no one way to mother, all right? And so when you
there as many guidebooks as there is no real guidebook because every child, every baby is so different.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, because it doesn't end the first baby. The second baby just throws you through a loop.
Absolutely.
The third, fourth, whatever. And so it never really quite ends. It does change and you become more comfortable and confident, but especially those first, second time moms, it can really, those transitions are big. And when you're in it, it's really hard. I think when you're out of it, you forget.
You do. Well, it's because we would never do any of it again if we remembered the hard stuff. We just remember the joy and like the squishy little baby moments.
Right.
But you mentioned, basically what you described is you're creating this village. You are creating a village for women and for families who maybe don't have one.
Sure. And even if they do have one, what's interesting is that, like, for example, my sister gave birth a couple years before I did. And so when I had my baby, it's not that she wasn't understanding, she
Mhm.
was, but sometimes you need someone who's in the same exact
Mhm.
phase, that your baby's in the same exact phase, because then you really have that kind of connection and commiseration, and that
Yeah.
you could just say, like, you get this right now. And that is, I think, the magic of new mom school. Of course, the education is super important and all of that, but, like, there's something about having other women who get it in the same room as you, and we meet for 8 weeks, so it's an 8-week series. You're with these same moms every single week. You really have that close tribe and community. It's very cool.
I love that. So let's walk it back a little bit to your background.
Sure.
When did you kind of find this journey? When did you become a postpartum doula, a sleep consultant? How did you find that journey for yourself?
Yeah. So in 2020, I was having my third child, and my mother in law, it was COVID. And so my mother in law came in town and she took over. She made all of my meals. I laid in bed with Kennedy. Like, I did the recovery, everything that I really needed and
Mhm.
wanted at that time. And she took care of my other two kids. And I was like, what is that called? What did she just do for me?
Mm.
And I like literally probably looked it up. And it was like, oh my gosh, she was my postpartum doula. So what a postpartum doula is, some people don't know what that is. So a birth doula obviously prepares you for birth, gets you through the birthing process, but then you're out of their scope of work. Then you have a postpartum doula who takes care of the mother when they get home from the hospital. We're mothering the mother so that they can take care of their baby. So I always used to say, I can take care of my baby, but I can't take care of everything else. The laundry is piling up. My other kids need to eat. You know, my
You need to
I
eat.
mean, all of the things, right? And so I was like, I want to do that for moms. And so I went and got certified as a postpartum doula first. And I started this Instagram page. It was called Survive and Thrive Mama. And I think just like kind of the realness of motherhood, I just was kind of throwing it out there,
Mhm.
especially for the first time moms who their husbands or sorry, partners couldn't go to the hospital with them. A lot
Yeah.
of times, like, they couldn't go to their appointments. They weren't
It
doing
was a
mommy and me
crazy
classes.
time to
Can you
have kids.
It's, like, really insane. Did you have your
Yeah,
first?
Nolan was during the pandemic. He was like, it was 21 that I had him. So yeah,
Yeah.
my husband couldn't come to most of our appointments. We never got to take any sort of classes. I remember
Right.
taking like one virtual class and we were both like, this is weird. I
Right.
don't want
Well,
to.
moms are feeling really alone, and
Yeah.
even if you did go to something, you were wearing a mask, and, like, babies aren't really, into that
Yeah.
anyways, obviously. So I started Survive and Thrive, and then I started these groups, and I kind of this is before I ever knew about new mom school. I found that the 4 to 6 month time period was really challenging
Hmm.
because your baby's going through a lot of changes, you're out of the fire of the 4th trimester. So I started the support groups. I thought the icing on the cake, just like new mom school, is that you had these moms that you could connect to, but it was all virtual. We met every day, whatever. And so then I was like, these moms are really struggling with sleep.
Hmm.
So then we kind of went into, I was like, I should be certified, got certified. That kind of took out off because I found that sleep was such a pain point for moms and their mental health was
Hmm.
really suffering.
Yeah.
It was came down to, and you know this, exhaustion is a form of torture. I mean,
Yes.
it truly is.
It is. I mean,
And
there's a reason that it's a torture device that they use out there.
I
I mean,
swear. And so I was like, if I can help ease that with moms, like that, then they can start to be out of that fight or flight and that they
mhm.
can start that executive brain thinking again and really, again, mother to their fullest ability. But without that, that was really tough. So yeah.
What's the joy that you find when you can get it to click, like to help a parent get things to click for them and their child, and that things start working in the way that they're hoping that their baby starts sleeping?
I mean, that it was amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I think, and I still do it to this day. There's something about the education that comes with sleep. And I think just because of my background as a doula, kind of understand, and I put on my different hats, my mom hat, my doula hat, my sleep consultant hat. And I think that that's important. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to throw this plan at you
Mhm.
and good luck. You know what I mean? I think all parents are different. All babies are different. And learning, all of that comes with some sense of care. So it feels really good.
Caldy's Coffee has been proudly roasting in St. Louis since 1994. Guided by a commitment to quality, service, and community, Caldy strives to make every cup a moment of discovery. And get this, Thanks to the support of their St. Louis community and fans across the country, they were named USA Today's #1 coffee chain in 2024. Visit coldiescoffee.com to find your nearest cafe, shop coffee for home, or even book a free tour and cupping at their roastery. Follow the goat to your next great coffee experience. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Well, and I remember working with you and realizing that the thing that you did so great was helping find something that worked for us. Yes, there's a lot of different sleep methods out there. There's a lot of books you can read. There's a lot of things, but not all of them work for you as a parent. I wasn't fully ready to fully cry it out. We could do a little crying, but like I couldn't do too much crying. And so you really worked with us to find a plan that we all felt comfortable with.
Yeah. I grew up, and this probably doesn't matter. I grew up in an interfaith home. And I think that my whole life, I didn't like see things as absolutes. There wasn't always a black and a white. There was always a gray. And so when people say like, you have to do this, I was like, but no, you don't. You know what I mean? Like there's always a middle ground. So when you can kind of learn all the information that's in front of you, it's researched back. And then we're like, hey, what's your temperament? What's your baby's temperament? What are you going to be able to, do over and over again with consistency? That's when we're like, all right, we've hit it. We know all of this educational stuff. We know the emotional stuff, and let's move forward with a plan that works for you. And if it doesn't, guess what? We can always pivot.
So I think what you just hit is such a pain point in sort of the parenting in social media world is this idea of black and white. You have these arguments on the internet amongst parents and moms. It's like formula, breast, sleep, train, don't sleep. And it feels like if you don't do one or the other, that you're a bad mom. But in reality, most of us are just trying to find a way that works for us and our individual families.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I feel like especially so New Mom School brings in experts from the community to talk about certain topics. So they're going to give you the best information possible so that you can make then an educated choice instead of going to Google and being like, what am I doing? Right. What is the right way? Let's like take it back a minute. Like, hey, let's get like the information that is going to be helpful. And then you get to use that to make the choice for your family because no one's the same.
What kind of experts are you guys bringing in? Let's talk about that. Like what can people expect in those classes and those experts that they're going to learn from?
Yeah. So a pelvic floor therapist
Huge.
Comes into our newborn class to talk about changing body, all of those things, diastasis recti, leakage. I mean, if you're a mom listening, here's the thing, you know what we're talking about here. And I think in the last decade has become something that is necessary that people are actually starting to pay attention to because that's something that will follow you through your life. And then you're getting to, menopause. And if you haven't fixed those issues, you're going to run into them again. So I think it's such an important topic and a really awesome expert-led topic. We will have a maternal mental health therapist to talk about anxiety versus worry versus anything else that you might be feeling. Because the reality is you're probably feeling a little bit of something. And it doesn't mean we don't talk about this topic because we want or need everyone to have anxiety or depression, but just knowing the warning signs as a mom, it's really nice to have that kind of support.
Well, and I think saying that idea of anxiety versus worry, like there are things now I look back on with my first and I'm like, oh, that was definitely postpartum anxiety. I just thought like, oh, I'm just a new mom worrying. And I look back at some of maybe the slightly crazier behavior. Like, I mean, my biggest thing was the car seat and like not being able to see the baby. And the number of times that I pulled over to check.
Yeah.
And like, I think back on that, I'm like, well, there was probably a slightly unhealthy obsession there. But I think had I had somebody to talk to, like, hey, I have this really big concern. Like even somebody saying like, A, that's okay to feel that way. B, here's, readjust that mirror. Here's what you should be looking for. Like finding some sort of like little tangible thing that could ease my anxiety would have been huge.
There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of things. And then all of a sudden when you say it out loud, hey, this is something that I actually thought, is there something wrong with me? Yeah. And hearing someone say, well, number one, most of the moms will say, no, you are not alone because I felt that. And number two, that is common, you know, and I'm not even going to say what my intrusive thought was, but it's scary for a lot of new moms to feel those things. So we are bringing an expert in to talk to them about that. A relationship coach, because not enough people talk about how your relationship changes after you have a baby. And so how even some of the mental load in motherhood shifts and so that they come to our newborn classes. I know I'm missing someone in newborn. I will call, myself, a sleep foundation.
Sleep,
I was going to say
lactation?
we will talk. So actually lactation is a great question, because what we do is we have a free breastfeeding support group every single
Amazing.
Monday from 10 to 11 at New Mom School. And it's open to the community. So you don't have to purchase one of our class series to come, which I think is really awesome.
I love that, because that's something, again, that people struggle with, and they
Yeah.
don't get a lot of support. You know, you maybe have somebody in the hospital that tells you one time, like, hey, you're doing it right. And then like, maybe you never see anybody else again.
100%.
And you don't know what you're doing. This is especially as a new mom, you are doing a skill, you're learning a skill that you have never done before. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of scariness about that, because
Oh
you're
my
feeding your
gosh.
baby.
It's most people obviously are seeing breastfeeding for the first time when they actually are breastfeeding their baby, which is wild. And so also something kind of unnatural for the human species. You know,
Yeah.
typically, again, 1,000 years ago, you would see your aunt, your cousin, somebody breastfeed at some point. So humans learn best by seeing. And again, you know, I think that's what's great about our groups. You can see someone else experiencing something, whether they're changing a diaper, soothing in a certain way, feeding in a certain way. And you're like, never tried that before.
Right.
I should try that. You know, it's cool, you know, seeing those other moms doing that. So that's important. So other experts that are coming in, we have a massage therapist coming in to talk about touch and infant massage, which I think is fun, because we'll dress up the babies in a, you know, little cute robe or towel, and we'll have a little spa day. But we talk about baby proofing. And this is like more in the infant class. We talk about baby proofing.
Because you'll have 3 different levels, right?
Oh, I guess we should talk about that. So we have a newborn class. We have a second and third time newborn class, because there's,
even though you had it one the first time, it's totally different sometimes the second time.
oh my gosh, and this it's really different. And so we have those 2 newborn classes. 0 to 3 month olds are in that class. Then we have an infant class for 3 to 6 month olds. And then we have a rising toddler play-based class, because we know that the babies aren't sitting still at that age, for 6 to 12.
Love that.
Yes. So, but our experts only come for the 0 to 6 month cohorts. After that, we have a child development specialist who leads all of the classes in our 6 to 12 months. So, I'm trying to think who else would be fun to share, but baby proofing and a like emergency response. So like how to handle gagging versus choking, like swimming pools, bath, you know, hot water, like. So just thinking about some of those things, because again, it's hard to like know everything at one time. So, you know, in this infant class, we're just trying to grow with the moms and meet them in that stage. Oh my gosh, starting solids. That's huge at that time. Anyways, there's so many. So all of this is listed also on our website. So if I'm just like talking too much, I'm sorry.
We love it. And because again, even you thinking about all the things, that's that prime example of like, these moms are trying to like think, am I doing this? Am I doing that? Am I doing this? Oh, I have to think ahead to that point. You're helping make that in a very digestible way. Like, we are going to help you find the answers. And if not the answers, we're at least going to help you try to figure it out together in this place that's built for moms.
Yes. And if they're asking a question, you better bet all the other moms are thinking the same thing, and they want that information. So it's going to be so wonderful for these moms.
As a mom of 3, how helpful would something like this have been for you?
Oh my gosh, it would have been amazing. I think just having someplace to go once a week for 90 minutes to really practice getting out of the house. I had anxiety about leaving my house, and I'm an extroverted person. And so it was very unlike me. I would actually like set up a happy hour outside of my house, and I'd be like, any neighbor want to come
hang out
sit with me and my baby? Like, but bringing her to the grocery store, going to a doctor's appointment, even going to see an IBCLC was anxiety provoking. I was like, I'm just going to stay in my house and I've got this, you know, and that lasted for a long time. And there was one friend who she was like, you know, I'll get you out of the house. Let's go to a music class. Let's go to the history museum. Let's go get out. And once I had that friend, changed motherhood for me. And so when I think something like New Mom School could do that for someone else, I want to cry talking about it. It will change so many moms' experiences. And I think that it's a really neat opportunity for these moms.
Are you hopeful that the continued, you know, the expansion of the information that's available on social media, the creation of things like the New Mom School continues to just grow and grow to the point where it's not unusual that we've got this place centered around new moms, that we have,
Yeah.
that this becomes so much more present in our lives, that this is just a given, that when you have a baby, you're going to have a village.
You know what's wild is that there are a lot of other countries, and I love America. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with America, but in other countries, this is a priority. And there are different ways to handle postpartum. And I think just our country in general, mothers have not been a priority in their mental health. And right now we're in a crisis. If you look, we are in the lowest maternal mental health like that we've ever been. And so my hope is that this is just the beginning, that this is something that all moms just do after they have their babies or have access to, because it just seems so natural that this would have, moms need this. They just do.
We do. We weren't supposed to mother alone.
No.
And, it is interesting because, yes, we can talk about the way our country treats moms and new families and the lack of, maternity leave and childcare costs and all these things. And there's very little that sometimes you and I can do from a larger government perspective, but we can talk about it and we can make it seem more normal. And we can lean on community members like you who are bringing it to the community, that because this is the first kind of its kind in St. Louis, right?
It is. I think there have been, some things like it, but I think just having the moms and babies in the same age group, I think that that's pretty unique. I think one thing that I learned in motherhood, because I kind of thought like, oh my gosh, if I lean on my partner, like I will be okay. Or if somebody helps me, I'm going to be okay. But what I learned in motherhood is I just really have to help myself. And what are the things that I need? And when I can really tune into that, I realize, hey, something like this can really help moms. No one's coming to help us. So we have to help ourselves. And if I can help other moms in any way, this is it. And I'm like, let's do this.
And there is that empowerment of knowledge, of knowing you're not alone. You feel empowered by that. Like saying, hey, I'm sitting in this room of other moms who are feeling the same thoughts, the same worries, the same joys. Because then you can also share in that joy with each other, those first smiles, all those little things.
When we talk about oxytocin in women, where do we get that from? And it's like immediate. When you're in a circle with other moms and connecting and sharing, it just starts pumping. And so New Mom School, actually, it says gather and glow, darling, you're glowing. Well, why is that? It's because when you're pregnant, everyone says to you, you're glowing. You look so radiant. And then you have the baby and no one says that. And no one says it. And it's like so sad, right? And what they noticed in New Mom School in California is that these moms would come and maybe they had lost their glow a little bit. Maybe they were just feeling kind of lost. And by the end of the 8 weeks, they were glowing and they were closer, that the chairs would keep getting closer to one another. It was so special. And I'm like, if we can bring that to St. Louis, and we are, like, it's just going to be so great.
Thank you so much, Allie. To learn more about the New Mom School and how to sign up, you can head to the description in this week's episode to get all that information. Now let's dive into the events for this week, October 27th through November 2nd. Wednesday, October 29th, you can catch a Halloween classic on the roof at Le Meridian St. Louis in downtown Clayton. They'll be showing Hocus Pocus on Wednesday night. There'll be an adult-only Halloween costume cruise on Halloween, Friday, October 31st on the St. Louis Riverboat. You can celebrate Dia de los Muertos at the Missouri History Museum in Forest Park on Saturday and Sunday, November 1st and 2nd. The Midwest Dreams Music Festival at Worldwide Technology is Saturday, November 1st, and La La Land in Concert is at the Fox Theater Saturday, November 1st. As always, thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe so you know exactly what's happening in the Lou this week.